So get this. Nintendo and Shigeru Miyamoto do not believe, they are of the impression that they are not behind when it comes to online networking, online services, VR, all of that great stuff. Nintendo actually thinks they are doing just fine. Now, this is not a surprising take because why would Nintendo, in the midst of the super successful Nintendo Switch, admit that something isn't going exactly that well? But the wording is important, and this comes from the general meeting of the investors and all that stuff that they did a couple weeks back. And there was a very pointed question from one of the investors, and Shigeru Miyamoto actually answered the question themselves. Furukawa chimed in as well. We're going to actually go through the entire answer. There's only been like one specific quote from this that's being put out there by all the various websites and even some of the YouTubers. I want to go through the full responses because I think it gives a better context for what they're saying, but it still doesn't sound that great. So let's just go straight to the question right off of Nintendo's own investor website. All right, so as you can see here, this is question 4. I'll put a link to this up here to you guys down in the description. And the investor said, there is an impression that Nintendo has been a little slow to join large global trends, like the mobile business and releasing games that use VR. The current global discussion now is of the entrance of major corporations into cloud computing and streaming games, as well as alliances between rivals in the arena of cloud gaming. What are Nintendo's thoughts on these trends, and how do you plan to respond? Also, how does Nintendo plan to respond to the change in communication standards from 4G to 5G? Furukawa first responded and said, well, we don't expect all of these games to become cloud games anytime soon. The technologies are definitely advancing. We see a future where cloud and streaming technologies will develop more and more as a means of delivering games to consumers. We must keep up with such changes in the environment. That being said, if these changes increase the worldwide gaming population, that will just give us more opportunities with our integrated hardware and software development approach to reach people worldwide with the unique entertainment that Nintendo can provide. Pretty stock standard response. I mean, that to me is a Reggie Fils-Aimé response right there, if I've ever heard one. But here's Shigeru Miyamoto, and he had quite a bit more to say. We have not fallen behind with either VR or network services. Okay, let's just, I can't even say that line without laughing. Okay, we have not fallen behind in either VR or, I mean, even if you want to give all the credit in the world for Labo VR, right? Like this thing right here, fine, give credit for it. That's fine. I think it's actually kind of a neat little idea that they got VR to actually be relevant on Switch in a form, but not behind the network services at all. No, not at all. Not at all. All right. So then Shigeru Miyamoto says, we worked on them from the very beginning and have been experimenting with them in a variety of ways. In that time, we have objectively evaluated whether they actually allow our consumers to have an enjoyable play experience and whether we can operate them at an appropriate cost. Because we don't publicize this until we release a product, it may look like we're falling behind. In regards to VR, we think that Nintendo, that we've created a product that is easy for our consumers to use in the recently released Nintendo Labo Toy-Con 4 VR kit. Nintendo consumers encompass a wide range of ages, including young children, so we will continue to create and announce products that can be enjoyed by anyone. I think that cloud gaming will become more widespread in the future, but I have no doubt that there will continue to be games that are fun because they are running locally and not on the cloud. We believe it is important to continue to use these diverse technical environments to make unique entertainment that can only have been made by Nintendo. The number of people coming into contact with digital services is increasing more dramatically than ever before. For example, Super Mario Run has surpassed 300 million downloads. The fact that we've reached such a market means that opportunities for us are greatly expanding, so we'd like to work with more and more unique projects. And actually, Kiyo Shiota, the director, senior executive officer, actually chimed in as well, because neither Shigeru Miyamoto or Furukawa, responded to the communication standards from 4G to 5G, maybe because that's not their expertise fields. So Kiyo Shiota says 5G can send a large amount of data without latency. Well, there's always some latency. Anything that's wireless has latency, but it's significantly reduced from what it was with 4G LTE. Anyways, we are aware that this technology has been gaining a lot of attention, and Nintendo is also investigating it. However, we don't only chase trends in technology. When considering what to offer in our entertainment services, we think about both how the technology will be applied to gameplay and what new experiences in gameplay can offer consumers as a result of that application. Cost is also an extremely important factor when it comes to 5G. It is difficult to even use an outstanding technology if the cost is too high, so we continue to also thoroughly investigate the cost of new technology. So, I mean, that's a pretty stock standard answer. That's exactly what I honestly would expect them to say. This entire thing has just been one interesting roller coaster for me. I, on one hand, can have a vast respect for Nintendo's three, executives here, from the guy at the top, and Shintaro Furukawa, to Miyamoto, who's, I mean, come on, he's the representative director, he's a fellow. We all know who Shigeru Miyamoto is at this point. And Shiota, like, I can respect what they're saying, and a lot of it I'm okay with. Like, the talking about the 4G to 5G thing, obviously people want to know, our future Switches or future devices going to implement 5G technology. Like, that's not something Nintendo's willing to comment on or commit to right now, which, I mean, that's obvious, but, it is new technology, they're looking into it. And I do kind of believe Shigeru Miyamoto a little bit when he says that they've worked on these online services, VR, network service from the beginning. I mean, they had the Virtual Boy back in the 90s, so they've clearly been dabbling in VR for quite a long time. And we know that Miyamoto and other executives have tried out, Oculus and other things at events like E3. So we know that they've at least been paying attention to the VR market. And that's probably why, honestly, I give Nintendo kudos for Labo VR. I honestly think that this was a very neat implementation of VR into a device that otherwise doesn't have the screen technology and is really not powerful enough to run most traditional VR games. But you know what? What they were able to do with it is pretty impressive. And I do think that, this Labo VR is a culmination of their experiments and recognizing technology and doing what actually fits and makes sense with Nintendo Switch. So I actually thank you, Nintendo. I do think you have at least implemented VR in a way that makes sense on Switch. Even if some people wish it wasn't cardboard, it's okay. It's more about these lenses. These lenses are fantastic for what the Switch is. That being said, the network services remark, haven't fallen behind on them. I do believe firmly that they've worked on network services for a long time, that they've paid attention to online gaming for a long time. In cloud gaming, I mean, lest we forget, Nintendo has cloud service games on the Switch. Assassin's Creed, Odyssey, Resident Evil 7, these are both cloud games available only in Japan. So, Nintendo is acutely aware of cloud technology. Whether or not they plan to personally take advantage of the technology, I don't know. To much of, I think, Nintendo fans, hopefulness here. Nintendo did say they do believe no matter what happens with cloud that there's always going to be a market for physical kind of games. And that is a relief, I think, to many. And obviously, I do think out of all the platforms out there, Xbox, Sony, Nintendo would be the last one to ever bow out of physical. That's just my, stock standard opinion that Nintendo firmly is an old school company that's dedicated to traditional means of enjoying video games. I mean, they're the only one of the three platforms relying on cartridges because cartridges are just faster and you don't have to install things on local memory. And no, it's not going to be faster than obviously local storage, not going to be faster than the new SSDs that are in the new consoles, but it's fast enough so that to not have to install everything, which I think is a boon for cartridges. That is, if enough games would actually use the bigger size cartridges. That's a completely different issue. But I do think it's just laughable when he talks about network services. Like, we haven't fallen behind. It just appears that we've fallen behind because we haven't released look, Nintendo, your online services have never been at the forefront of anything. You can at least argue with Virtual Boy. You took a swing for VR before Oculus and everything else entered the arena. Granted, it was a really crappy swing, but you took a swing, so you've at least been investing and looking into that technology. You did have online, all the way back on the GameCube, Phantasy Star Online. NES had it, kind of like a Satellaview thing going on, BS Zelda, all that stuff. So they've dabbled in online for a long time, but they've never really dabbled in the networking and services side, right? We're talking, Nintendo accounts. We're talking stuff like the friend codes they have, right? That's been Nintendo's way of handling things, and it seems to change every single generation. They got rid of friend codes during the Wii U generation. It kind of told us that they wouldn't be coming back because it's kind of an archaic way of handling friends, and then here we are in 2019 with Nintendo Switch, and we're back to friend codes. And like there are other things too, where he talks about, we objectively evaluated whether they actually allow our consumers to have an enjoyable play experience. What are they evaluating? Like, what part of the fact that I cannot message a friend on my Nintendo Switch objectively turns out to not be something that people enjoy? Like, yeah, you know what? Being able to message your friends on Switch, damn, people wouldn't enjoy that, so let's not do it. What part of, local voice chat, people don't enjoy that, so let's not do it. Like, there are obviously special use cases where people don't like the messaging, but that's what the parental controls are for. That's what individual, account-based controls, being able to turn off messaging, being able to turn off voice chat, stuff like that, for the people who don't like it. So objectively speaking, you're actually making the experience worse for millions of people that might prefer it to be different than it is now. And this is without getting into the fact that almost none of their games on Switch run on dedicated servers for online. It doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of it is peer-to-peer. And for some games, fighting games in particular, peer-to-peer is usually favored. However, the way it happens in Smash sometimes doesn't feel that great. Lots of disconnects in Splatoon, lots of disconnects in Mario Kart. It would be really nice for Nintendo to recognize there are situations where for online play, dedicated servers are better. There's a reason Fortnite kicks people out way less often than any Nintendo game does. The entire game, well, not the entire game, but large chunks of the game are running literally on the server, and it's a server-based multiplayer experience rather than a peer-to-peer, which obviously has to be the case because it's dealing with 100 players, but it should still be the case with Nintendo when you're dealing with anything more than 2, in my opinion. When it's just 2 players, yes, having one direct connection to the other player makes a lot of sense. But once you go beyond that, even in Smash, you're having 2v2s and 4v4s. Like, you need to let people... well, I guess you can't do 4v4s online, but you need to let people have a choice of connecting to dedicated servers that will manage connections and not have one person out of that 4 slow the other 3 people down. That just isn't fair to anyone. Disconnect that 4th person and let the other 3 keep going, in my opinion, or just don't even let them connect in general if they happen to have a really bad latency or whatever it is. But again, there's been ways that Nintendo could do this better, and they just don't. Nintendo offers the worst online services of all of the companies out there. They're the cheapest. You got to give them benefit of the doubt for recognizing, hey, our services just aren't as good as anyone else's, so we're not going to charge you $60 a year, discounted to $45 for most people. We're going to charge you $20, or package it in with Mario Maker for only $10 for 12 months. Like, I give them credit for pricing things, I guess, more appropriately. But beyond that, I don't know that Nintendo really understands online at all. And it's just baffling sometimes. Did we get into the fact there's no achievements? Like what part of this objective thing are they looking at where people don't enjoy achievements? Yes, some people don't care about them, but them existing has never really made people get mad about it if they don't like them. Especially when, like, on other systems you can turn off notifications for achievements, so then you might not even be aware you got an achievement in a game if it's not something you really care about. Like, options have never objectively been a bad thing, and Nintendo Switch severely lacks in options when it comes to online play, when it comes to online communication. It's in many ways worse than what we got with Wii U. And Wii U we didn't pay for at all. We literally had a video chat application for free on Wii U. But we can't even text message our friends on Switch. Heck, even using the Nintendo Switch Online app, you can't text people within the app. It's literally an application on our phones, and you can't text people that you're friends with on Switch that maybe you're not friends with on social media, or maybe you don't have their phone number. You can't message your friends on Switch and try to set up play sessions. Remember when Nintendo talked about how the Nintendo Switch Online app was going to have the ability to set up future play sessions? It actually was a really cool idea. I thought it was dumb you needed your phone to do it, but you know what? Being able to use the app in that way kind of makes a little sense. I would like you to be able to set it up on your Switch, and people can respond through Switch or through the phone app, so if they don't have their Switch on them or whatever. But that's neither here nor there. It was a really neat functionality that they clearly looked into and researched, or they would have never announced it, but it never came out. That doesn't mean it won't come out in the future, but the fact it's not out now means you're behind. Like, when things aren't released publicly and this public perception comes out that you are behind, you are factually behind. Nintendo, I don't care if you're adding achievements in 3 years. guess what? You're 15 years late to the damn party at that point. Like, achievements have been out forever on other platforms. You are late to the party. You are factually behind. I don't care if you have dedicated servers landing in 2020. Everyone else had them a decade ago. You are factually behind. I don't care if you're adding in direct messaging, if you're going to make local voice chat a thing as an option in the future. Again, all these other platforms have that, meaning that you are factually behind. It doesn't matter what's happening behind closed doors if it's not available publicly. That's just the reality of services. And yeah, of course some people would be wary if Nintendo ever got into cloud gaming, because who can trust Nintendo to actually do cloud gaming right? I mean, even when they're offering their classic library of games, they have the worst solution of the three. Yeah, it's a subscription. Yeah, it's tied into Nintendo Switch Online. Arguably, you could say that's better than having to pay for, separate for Game Pass, or having to go to the PlayStation network or whatever it is and have that be like a separate thing from just PSN. And at least when they do that, they're offering a massive chunk of their library across many generations of systems. Nintendo just gives you NES games right now. And just, you can't own them. You can't download them. You just play them online. You have to have the online service to use them. You don't know what games you're going to get in the future, because they only let you know like 2 weeks before they come out now. At the beginning, at least they gave us like a 3-month roadmap. They stopped doing that after the first 3 months and waited till like a week before the games come out to even tell us what they're going to be. And you don't know if you're getting 3, you don't know if you're getting 2. Hell, we might get 1. We might get a month with none. You never know. And SNES games have been listed in the thing for like 6 months, still haven't even been announced they're even coming. And I understand what they're doing in the new editions. It might be cool to some people with the online play, but even then, like, as neat as those editions are, and that is different than how other companies are offering their library, like, you could maybe do that in addition to just offering the games on their own like you used to through Virtual Console. Again, something that Wii U and even 3DS did better than what Switch does with the service. Like, factually, Shigeru Miyamoto, and I know you're not probably going to see this video, but I can't help but just point this out to you and Shintaro Furukawa and anyone at Nintendo that might be watching it, Bill Trinan, whoever might be tuning into my videos, because I happen to know that my videos, some of them do occasionally make it through the grapevine to at least some people at Nintendo of America. I want to tell you guys factually right now that you are behind in online. And it's not even close. Whether it's cloud gaming, whether it's whether it's online services, whether it's your classic library of games. I'm not going to argue about VR, because Switch is not the kind of device that you could be doing more advanced VR with. So when you're not really selling a device meant for that, obviously you're not going to be participating as much in that field. Hello, this is really honestly the best solution, and I'm really glad you did it. Hopefully it works with Switch Mini, Switch Pro, and other stuff in the future, because it would suck if you had to buy a whole separate kit for those systems. It would be really nice that this like lens kit and everything could just work with it, but that's we'll worry about that if we have to worry about it. Right now, I'm just disappointed that your stance is that nothing's wrong. We're fine. There's a perception we're behind, but that's because people don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Like, if it's behind closed doors, then you're behind. Like, the only neat thing you were doing this generation, or claimed you were doing, was going to set up the ability for us to set up play sessions with our friends, which currently you can obviously do by just getting a hold of your friends and saying, hey, want to play some Fortnite tonight? Hey, you want to play this tonight? Like, you could do that, with your phone, or you can have on Xbox and PlayStation and message people and set things up that way. But it sounded like it was going to be a much more robust system where, like, I can, say tonight, hey, everyone, I'm playing, Splatoon tonight, and I could let you guys know about a lobby for it, days ahead of time, and you fans could go sign up for it if you're friends on my friends list and whatever. That's what it kind of sounded like, and there's no ability to do that on other systems. And it was the only really neat thing I thought Nintendo was maybe going to do different that made sense. And then they scrapped that whole thing and haven't talked about it since they announced it. I mean, honestly, if I ever get an interview with Shintaro Furukawa, Shigeru Miyamoto, or anyone who is more at the top, one of my first questions is going to be, hey, you guys remember when you promised that? What happened to that? Because literally no one's asked Nintendo about it in any of these interviews. It's one of the neatest features I thought that would differentiate their service. It's not here. So, Nintendo, I love the Switch, man. I game on it more than I game on anything else in my life. There's literally right now 3 Switches in my house. I keep telling myself I won't pick up the Switch Mini at launch, but if it is using a slightly faster Tegra processor with a 1080p screen, I'll probably end up picking up the Switch Mini at launch. Damn it. I just know that's going to happen. And I'll probably end up picking up the Switch Pro whenever that comes, if that's a thing that even exists. And I honestly am a big supporter of Nintendo. I think you guys make some of the best games. I think you guys make some of the best tech. It might not be the most powerful always out there, but I always think that it's extremely innovative in certain measures, and I think Switch fits that kind of measure of innovation in a way. Even though I know, guys, Switch isn't the first hybrid to even attempt these kind of things. I get it. Okay, heck, our phones can do some of the things Switch could do by going on our TVs and that stuff now, and can do it wirelessly and whatever. Like, I get it, okay? Like, I get it. Switch isn't like the first device to attempt this kind of thing, but it is the first device to do it with a more traditional control, slapped on the side, take them off, morph it into 3 different platforms from tabletop to handheld to TV, and doing it as seamlessly as it did. It's the first platform to make it fun and easy to do. And I really enjoy these aspects of Nintendo and them trying these new and crazy things. What I don't like is when they can't just admit that, you know what, maybe we're not doing the best, I don't want to say not doing the best we can, because maybe this is the best they can do, but maybe, just maybe, we're getting questions like this because we're not offering services that are actually satisfying our consumers, that objectively you are behind in doing things worse than others. And I think it's okay at times to, in self-reflection, admit that maybe, you know what, maybe we can be better. So it would be nice to see Nintendo admit fault sometimes. Right now, since Satoru Furukawa's taken over, there really hasn't been a lot of fault admitting. I'll give this to Satoru Iwata. He admitted to fault. He would always promise to fix it, and then it wouldn't happen again, and then he wouldn't fix it, and it would happen again. So that part sucked. He always overpromised in that kind of way, and then Nintendo just never delivered. But at least, he was honest, and I think part of it is because he was a gamer. He was a video game developer before. He knows that we care about this stuff, and he knows that when Nintendo screws up, he's got to own it. And as awesome as Switch is doing, not everything's all hunky-dory. I'll give you a prime example, and this is something that isn't even mentioned in this piece at all. When has Nintendo ever acknowledged that there's a problem with the Joy-Cons? That the control sticks on the Joy-Cons have drift? When have they ever acknowledged Joy-Con drift and the bad design? Like, even say do a recall and replace, or even improve. Even new Joy-Cons that come out still have the drift problem because they're still designed the exact same. They still have the same crappy design in the mechanism. So, like, when has Nintendo acknowledged that was bad? When did they acknowledge the stick grind that's in the Pro controllers? Like, I don't have one on me anymore because I sold them all because I kept having stick grinding issues that were causing me to have drifting issues, and I was tired of air cleaning it out and replacing joysticks. It's a hassle I didn't want to deal with, so I got it to work to a point and sold it to GameStop. Let that controller be someone else's damn problem. Anyways, as you can tell, I don't think everything's perfect with Switch, but man, oh man, if I'm not looking forward to Fire Emblem and Marvel Ultimate Alliance this month, man, those games look fantastic. And I got to admit, I'm having more fun with Mario Maker 2 than I ever thought I was going to. Thanks again, sis, for that pickup. You guys are amazing. I hope you're having a wonderful Monday. Hopefully we have some happier stories coming to you a bit later today. Maybe an extra video tonight. We'll see. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Rumpleljans from Nintendo Prime. Why don't you drop a like on this video, subscribe for more content, share it with your friends. Let's get the word out and have a good time here at Nintendo Prime. If you want to head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Nintendo Prime, it's a way to show some monetary support, or you hit that join button below this channel and become a Nintendo Primer. That's what I'm calling people who become members on the channel. I know it's lame, all right? I'm kind of a lame guy, all right? I'm a 33-year-old man ranting and raving over video game stuff, so just get used to it, all right? I'll catch you guys in the next video.